Probably know by now that Anime Last Stand recently got hit with a huge trait rework that kind of changed how damage over time effects, or DOT, works. So, in this video I'm going to be testing some of the most talked about DOT units. If you enjoy, maybe subscribe. Anyways, let's get into it. So the three units we're going to be testing in this video are Red Pirate, Black Swordsman, and Sunwoo Winter. All three of them are going to have the Overlord trait with some pretty good stats, all S's. Some of them are a little bit better than others, but it shouldn't make too much of a difference. It'll be like a 2% if anything, so we'll know which units are better. And then they've all got the same skill tree with it prioritizing their raw damage, so if you're wondering, this is, I think, the best skill tree for just pure damage output and a damage over time effect. So we're going to be testing these all in infinite, comparing different interactions, like if to bleed or poison stacks, and yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. Let's see. Let's get started with the base stats on these units. So on placement, they are going to cost 550 for Red Pirate, 1k for Guts, 520 for Sunwoo. So because Guts is the most expensive, he's probably the best, but anyways, starting with Sunwoo, he is doing about 170k damage every 3.13 seconds with 27.2 range. He's a circle AoE with the bleed passive. Next we've got Black Swordsman doing 286k damage every 3.16 seconds with 27.2 range. And he is a cone AoE ground unit with the no bleed actually. Then we've got Red Pirate with the bleed passive doing almost 170k damage every 3.68 seconds with 27.2 range. It's also a ground unit. So all of these are pretty similar. They do have the exact same range, and then Sunwoo's a circle, the other two are cone. And looks like they actually do have a lot of differences in their damage. Sunwoo and Red Pirate are almost the same, but then Guts is a lot higher. He is also higher cost though, and keep in mind normally Sunwoo would be a 2 placement, and then the other two, Red Pirate and Black Swordsman, would be a 3. Anyways, let's go and keep upgrading them here, so I'm gonna go and max them out. But if you pay attention to Sunwoo's passives here, he does have a few passive that he gains on different upgrades. So you can see now he has Burn on upgrade 3. And then upgrade 6 he gets Hemorrhage. Upgrade 8 he still has Hemorrhage, 9, 10, still Hemorrhage. And then max upgrade. Boom. So he does have an ability here on upgrade 12, which was Rise. That's going to spawn in like a stampede of little enemy things to do damage. Or it's called the Raise, sorry. So you can see he spawns in that little army there. And then upgrade 13 he gets a different ability called Arise, and this is going to make sure his passive, which normally increases his damage, is actually a guarantee. So normally it's like a, I don't know what the chance is, maybe 20%? But instead it is going to be a 100% chance to boost his damage from kills. Now Guts max upgrade. You can see he has the Hemorrhage passive, and then Red Pirate. And you can see he has the Poison, or Conqueror passive. So I'll have a side-by-side of all these units so you can actually see the damage and stats and stuff more in depth. I'll go slower on it. So here's a side-by-side comparison. In terms of cost, for maxing out all three of these units, we're going to have Shanks with the cheapest cost of 105,000, and then Guts with the second cheapest cost with 180,000, and then Sunwoo with the most expensive cost of 230,000. If we were to take a closer look at their maxed out stats, we have Sunwoo doing around almost 30 mil every 3.92 seconds with 81.8 range. He is a cone AoE hybrid unit, and then he has the Hemorrhage passive. Then Black Swordsman with doing around 55 mil damage every 6.84 seconds with the Hemorrhage passive. He's full AoE and hybrid with 61 range, so pretty cool. I think he is significantly better than Sunwoo right now. But as you can notice, Sunwoo does have an ability here, which we'll get more into later. And then we have Shanks finally, doing around 30 mil every 5.25 seconds with 40.9 range. He's a full AoE hybrid unit. And then he has the Poison, which is also the Conqueror's passive, which is going to not only do damage over time, but also stun the enemies that are hit by it. So we'll look more into that later as well. In terms of pure DPS or damage per second at these max upgrades, Shanks is going to be coming in last with about 6.04 million damage per second. Sunwoo is going to come in second with about 7.17 million damage per second. And then we're going to have Guts come in first with about 8.14 million damage per second. Pretty good. Now we're going to activate Sunwoo's ability and see how many times he actually needs to pop this and how long it takes him of farming souls or whatever to actually catch up to the damage of Guts. By the way, for any of you wondering, the Hemorrhage passive coming from Sunwoo and Guts is actually going to stack, so you can see Guts is going to be ticking for about 6.5 million, and then Sunwoo is going to be ticking for about 2.83 million, so you can see them both pop up. And then also, because Conqueror is a different status effect, we can easily see it. It's going to be a purple number here, so if I were to max out my Shanks, it is also going to tick at the same time. These all do stack. So he's going to be doing about 3.69 million every tick. And these all do stack. If you were to use all these units on the same team, it would be working all at the same time. I did not catch the exact time on recording because I was on 2x speed, but I did find out that after, depending on your luck, because he can get souls from just normal kills, after around 4 to 5 ability uses, with only using Sunwoo to clear, we can actually catch up to Guts' damage, and it only takes about 20 to 25 waves. Again, it is kind of luck-based because he has a 20% chance to steal the soul and get more damage without using his ability, but after 4 to 5 ability uses, he can actually pass Guts in damage, which I think is pretty cool. Now the exact setup I used to find this information out was kind of scuffed. I did farm with only Yojin, I did use only Sunwoo to defend, and I did have to leak about, I think it was like 5 of the first flying enemies, so I didn't get every kill possible, but this was on a normal infinite, and I was just testing with all of these units. But it is very easy to actually pass Guts in pure DPS using Sunwoo's ability, but he is only a cone AoE, keep that in mind, so he does have really good range though. I think that it is kind of close between these two. Overall, I think I'd have to say that Guts is better, and I'm not biased here, I'm really trying not to be biased, but I think that Guts costing only 180k is a lot more useful in the normal progressive stages, especially because you don't have to worry about using that ability at all. Like, this was a setup where I intentionally only used Sunwoo to clear, and then I spammed the ability as soon as I could get it, using Yojin to farm. Now that's not always going to be possible on like super hard stages, like hard raids or something. You're not always going to have the leisure of just farming as much as you can, and then also only using Sunwoo, because his damage isn't going to be enough. And like I said, I did leak a few flying enemies. So this is kind of an unrealistic setup, and it still took a little bit to catch up to Guts. It wasn't that long, but I don't know, for costing more and taking more time to invest just to pass him in damage, I think that overall he's going to be better in infinites because that ability is just going to keep scaling up his damage more and more and more. And I think Guts overall in progressive stages is going to be better. It is a pretty close battle between these two in terms of which one you should use, but I think that Guts overall is going to be more useful in progressive stages, while Sunwoo is still very, very strong. And then Shanks, I kind of took him off the team, sorry about that, but Shanks I'd say is the worst out of the three. His damage is the lowest, but he is good for support in infinite runs. He does have that stun passive with his Conquered Bleed thing. Yeah, it's pretty good, but his damage is kind of falling off. He is really cheap too. There's a flaw with all of these units in that I think it's important for damage dealers to kind of fulfill their role of dealing damage early on, so you can actually use them in progressive stages like story mode, portals, raids, and stuff like that. So a good example of a meta damage dealer for progressive modes is going to be Rengoku, although mine is very low investment with, I don't even know if I did his skill tree, no I didn't, and then I only have All-Seeing on him. He's still going to do pretty good damage off rip, like I don't have to invest much cash into him, especially if you ask people who use Rengoku, and anybody that has a well invested one, he is one of the stronger units in the game. Whereas if I were to place my Shanks down, you can see that he's really not doing much damage at all. Especially he only has the bleed passive at this point. He's the cheapest out of these three to actually upgrade and max out. As I mentioned earlier, I went into the cost of all of them. But yeah, a huge flaw in all three of these units is that they are not the strongest early on. You kind of have to invest in them. Like Guts doesn't have his bleed yet, which actually isn't much of a problem after the trait rework. Like the trait rework really buffed Guts. I want to emphasize that, because before with Glitched or Avatar, his damage would only be noticeable after you got that dot upgrade, which I don't know which upgrade it's at. I don't have enough cash. I'm just kind of mindlessly talking. But yeah, Guts is a lot better out of these three for progressive stages just because he doesn't rely on his dot so much. And then these units just don't have the best starting damage compared to him. Like, Sunwoo's honestly isn't bad. Shanks really kind of is. Anyways, enough yapping. Yeah, I just wanted to say that pretty much summary of that is that Guts is probably the best out of the 3 for early damage, and then Sunwoo is obviously the best for infinite, and then Shanks is probably, he's very cheap, he's like a balance of both, while also being a support because of his stun passive and infinites. I think that all three of these units are really good, but if I had to rank them overall, I'd say that Guts is probably better than Sunwoo, and then Sunwoo is probably better than Shanks. Now, don't get mad at me in the comments, okay? All of these are good. Again, it's really hard to actually kind of choose between the three of them, but I'd say most of the time, Guts is going to be the best, most of the time Sunwoo is going to be the second, and then most of the time Shanks is going to be the third. They all have their strengths and weaknesses, and it's up to your team and kind of how they fit in there to if you should use them or not. Anyways, that was a full in-depth video kind of going into all of these 3 dot units, the most talked about, the most popular, after the trait reworks that kind of changed dot. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. I could be completely off on some of my research here that I've done, all this testing I've done. But yeah, this was still a fun video to make. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you in the next one, and have a great day.